And if you do want a bit more education, there is a sale on until tomorrow, end of Q2, end of 30th of June. VTP reduction on the VTP stage 2 swing trading and stage 3 intraday trading. Okay, there's a QR code there or a bit.ly code, or just ping me if you've got questions. Okay, finally, Jets. All right, Jets is who are they? That is the airline industry ETF. Okay, so it gives exposure to it says it's exposure to global airlines. It's mostly kind of US airlines and travel names. All right, so it's a kind of a reflection of that. Um, Once again, you would say that this chart, is for the most part in an uptrend, but there has been some significant swings here, hasn't it? There's been some, fascinating swings. Okay, not unsurprisingly, a lot of that driven by the economy, driven by events in the Middle East. Okay, because of course it all really does factor about jet fuel. Okay, that is the key swing factor. All right, so of course, what we have seen is as the war in Iran has tailed off, shall we say, more so than ended. Let's say it's tailed off. That, of course, has naturally had a huge impact on the price of oil, which we'll have a quick look at later. And of course, as that happens, well, invariably that's good for the airlines. Okay, we can see here sort of, where we were for earlier this year, and that was a real kind of scrappy block. Although interestingly, we were still kind of respecting that sort of 50 period moving average. I was looking at this, sort of looking at here where we just coiling up before we kind of rolled down to the 200. But you can see, once we started getting peace sort of deals, well, markets believing there was peace deals, well, you can see for yourself that that has kind of, hurtled its way higher, hasn't it? And so, what we're into that summer season, aren't we? We're into summer travel. How much of it is going to be affected? What's the cost of fuel? What's the risk appetite in terms of the trade? Are people going to have an appetite for risk, and are people going to have an appetite for traveling? All right, if that happens, so if oil keeps falling, well, all of those airlines, that helps their margins, it supports their margins. But then, of course, the next thing is if there's more geopolitical risk, or there's a bump higher in those fuel prices, well, then this ETF can reverse quickly. So it's one I watch. I'm fascinating in the aviation defense sectors. It's kind of my hobby horse, should we say? But it is fascinating to watch. How these ETFs, this jet ETF, it kind of is very, very sensitive to geopolitical and fuel price risk, not unsurprisingly. But as I said, it's done well the last few weeks, and we have to see whether it can hold on that. If you look at some of those American airlines, all right, they have put also in significantly good performance over the last couple of weeks.